December 22, 2003, Isiah Thomas hired as Knicks president of basketball operations. Knicks franchise value $401 million, most valuable in the NBA. 2004 to 2005 Knicks record 33-49, missed playoffs. 2005 to 06 Knicks record 23-59, worst in franchise history. 2006 to 07 Knicks record 33-49, missed playoffs again. April 2008 Isiah Thomas fired. Knicks franchise value $613 million, still most valuable in the NBA.
He's not out of the organization entirely, but he's nowhere we're ever going to see him again. He's not going to be in front so fans can boo. I would think for a competitive guy like Isiah Thomas, who's used to being involved at the highest level, he's going to get kind of bored with a job that seems to have no definition.
5 years, 0 playoff wins, $120 million paid to players for 82 combined games, $11.5 million in sexual harassment settlements.
A New York jury has called a major foul on Knicks coach and president Isiah Thomas. Tuesday, jurors ruled that Thomas sexually harassed a former female top team executive. They said Anuka Brown Sanders was subjected to unwanted advances and verbal insults.
The franchise appreciated 53%. James Dolan made money on every single loss. December 22, 2003, James Dolan, owner of Madison Square Garden and the New York Knicks, hires Isiah Thomas as president of basketball operations. The announcement is received with genuine optimism. Thomas is a two-time NBA champion, a Hall of Famer, a point guard who understood the game at a level most executives never will.
Shrimp switches, Isiah goes, Williams poking. Oh! No! That went sideways. The stuff of dreams. Look at that spin. Look at that shot. My.
New York hasn't won a championship since 1973. They believe Isiah is the man to change that. To be precise about what Thomas walked into, the Knicks were already a financial disaster before he arrived. His predecessor, Scott Layden, had signed Allen Houston to a $100 million contract despite knees that would never allow him to play another game. The payroll was nearly double the salary cap. There was almost no cap relief in sight until 2006. Thomas inherited a burning building. The question is what he did with it. The answer, documented in federal court filings, ESPN reporting, and verified salary records, is that he poured gasoline on it. ESPN's Tom Haberstroh documented what became known among NBA analysts as perhaps the most concentrated act of financial self-destruction in professional sports management history. During Isiah Thomas's tenure as Knicks president, the franchise paid $120 million to 7 players who played a combined total of 82 games for the team. Brown's contract value is reported as a range of $50 to $60 million across multiple sources. The $18,500,000 settlement upon termination is separately verified. These are not additive. The settlement replaced remaining contract obligations. Let's examine the architecture of that number, because each entry represents a decision that violated the fundamental logic of the NBA salary cap system. Jerome Williams, the Knicks absorbed his remaining $21 million contract from the Chicago Bulls in exchange for Jamal Crawford. Williams played one underwhelming season and was released. The Knicks continued paying him for 3 years after he left, $21 million for a player who no longer played for them. Maurice Taylor, traded to the Knicks from Houston. He played 0 games in a Knicks uniform. 0. The Knicks paid him for games he never played. The cap hit was real. The production was non-existent. Jerome James. In the summer of 2005, James submitted an outstanding 11-game playoff performance for Seattle, averaging 12.5 points and 6.8 rebounds. Thomas saw those 11 games and offered a 5-year, $30 million contract. James arrived at his first Knicks training camp out of shape. He was suspended in January 2006 for failure to prepare for practice. He averaged 3 points per game across 90 appearances over 4 seasons. $30 million. And then there is Larry Brown, fresh off back-to-back NBA Finals appearances with Detroit. Thomas and Dolan signed Brown to a 5-year coaching contract reported across multiple sources at somewhere between $50 and $60 million. Brown lasted 1 season. His record, 23 wins, 59 losses. The worst single-season record in Knicks franchise history. Unsurprisingly, he was fired. The settlement paid upon termination, $18.5 million. Michael Jordan received $33 million in 96 to 97. He played 82 games. He averaged 29.6 points. He won a championship. Isiah Thomas's 7 players received $120 million combined. They played the same 82 total games that Jordan played alone. They averaged 10.6 points per game across all of them, 1/3 of the production, 3 times the price, 0 playoff wins. But the contracts are only part of the architecture, because ESPN's Larry Kuhn, one of the foremost authorities on the NBA salary cap rules, identified what the contracts actually did beyond the dollar amounts. Difficult to move, that is the mechanism. In the NBA salary cap structure, an overpaid player is not just a financial burden, he's an anchor. No team wants to absorb a bad contract, which means the Knicks couldn't trade their way out, couldn't sign better players to replace them, couldn't build around youth. The contracts didn't just cost money, they froze the franchise structurally for years. Numbers at this scale become abstract, so let's bring it to the ground. Anucha Brown Sanders joined the New York Knicks in 2000 as a marketing executive. By 2002, she had been promoted to Senior Vice President of Marketing and Business Operations, one of the most powerful black female executives in professional sports in America. In January 2006, she was fired. Brown Sanders filed a federal lawsuit against Isiah Thomas in Madison Square Garden. The trial lasted 3 weeks. On October 2, 2007, a federal jury returned its verdict. $11.5 million paid by Madison Square Garden to a woman whose career at the organization was ended after she reported harassment. The jury found that $6 million of that award was specifically for the hostile work environment. 6 of 7 jurors voted to assess punitive damages against Thomas personally. The case settled before that retrial could occur.
That the jury could not see the facts in this case, I will appeal this, and I remain confident in the man that I am, and what I stand for, and the family that I have.
Before the trial, Brown Sanders offered to drop the lawsuit for $6 million. She was turned down. The eventual settlement cost $11.5 million. James Dolan, in a 2015 HBO interview, acknowledged he could have settled for far less. His explanation? $11.5 million added to the $120 million in personal damage, added to the $18.5 million settlement paid to Larry Brown. The documented financial cost of 5 years of Isiah Thomas at the New York Knicks was not a basketball problem. It was an organizational collapse, visible in salary records, federal court documents, and a ledger that kept growing while the wins stayed absent. Here's the paradox at the center of this story, and it's the reason this is not simply a tale about a bad general manager. During the 5 years Isiah Thomas ran the New York Knicks, 5 years of bottom 5 records, 0 playoff wins, a federal harassment settlement, and $120 million in documented financial damage, the franchise became more valuable. $401 million when Thomas arrived, $613 million when he was fired. A 53% appreciation over 5 years of documented organizational chaos. In 2006 to 07, the season the Knicks went 33-49, missed the playoffs, and had the lowest operating income in the NBA at negative $42.2 million. Forbes still valued them at $613 million. The most valuable franchise in the league. $42 million operating loss, $613 million franchise value. Those two numbers exist simultaneously in the same organization in the same season, by the financial architecture of Madison Square Garden made explicit. The Knicks didn't make money playing basketball. They make money existing in New York City. Madison Square Garden, the building, the brand, the concert revenue, the Rangers, the television deals, appreciates regardless of what happens on the court. Sports economist Andrew Zimbalist, in his assessment of the Thomas tenure, identified the structural problem precisely. Thomas should have known this. He was a student of the game, a Hall of Famer, a man who had won championships inside the system. But the salary cap, the same instrument documented in episodes 1 and 2 of the Liquidation series, is a precision tool. It punishes exactly the behavior Thomas demonstrated, throwing money at declining veterans, absorbing bad contracts to acquire marginal talent, trading first-round picks for players already past their prime. Every move Thomas made was the move the CBA was specifically designed to punish. And in New York, the franchise still appreciated, well, because of New York. April 2008, Donnie Walsh is hired to replace Thomas. His mandate is not to build a contender. His mandate is to undo what Thomas built. For 2 full years, 2 full seasons, Walsh does almost nothing but remove Isiah Thomas's fingerprints from the salary cap. Jerome Williams' ghost contract, Maurice Taylor's ghost contract, Stephon Marbury's buyout, Jared Jeffries traded in a 3-team deal for Tracy McGrady's expiring contract. Every move is not about getting better, it's about getting clean. LeBron James chooses Miami. The 2 years Walsh spent cleaning Thomas's books, 2 years of losing, 2 years of roster dysfunction were not enough. The Knicks had the cap space. They did not have LeBron. The argument can be made that a franchise not paralyzed by Thomas's contracts from 2004 to 2008 might have been positioned differently for that summer, might have had the roster pieces LeBron wanted, might have been the destination instead of the afterthought. $150 million in documented verified financial damage in 5 years by one executive at the most financially stable franchise in professional basketball. A franchise so valuable that it appreciated 53% while all of this was happening. The Knicks could not be destroyed financially, Isiah Thomas proved it, but the basketball, the actual competition, the actual possibility of a championship, that could be destroyed, and it was. The New York Knicks have not won a championship in 53 years. They are currently worth approximately $7.5 billion. They are among the 3 most valuable franchises in professional sports, and they have not won a championship in 53 years. That is not a coincidence, that's a business model. The NBA's financial architecture, equal revenue sharing, market-sized premiums, building value independent of competitive outcomes, made it possible to run the most valuable franchise in basketball into the ground and still profit. Isiah Thomas didn't expose a flaw in the system, he proved the system works exactly as designed. Owners get rich, players get capped. And in New York, the fans just keep coming. $401 million when he arrived, $613 million when he left. 0 playoff wins between. The franchise won, the fans didn't. Most people just watch the losses. We read the contracts that made them profitable. We read the fine print so you don't have to.